Good morning and welcome to the Mindflight channel. To empower, to elevate and enjoy the journey. Well, glad to have you with us again today. We've got two sections. We've got the discussions part of the Mindflight channel, but also how does Mindflight resonate, or how does it parallel with things in the media, films and fiction and stories. And obviously creativity is a fundamental aspect of enjoying the creating, and creativity is a fundamental aspect of our existence. And naturally what we do is we have Mindflight, which is essentially Mindflight is essentially a teaching, but there are certain parallels and there are certain ideas within specific films that we're going to discuss that highlight and relate to Mindflight. I myself, Captain Dennis, and my flight attendant, Scarlet, are here to discuss some of the films that do have parallel to the teachings within Mindflight and relate to it. So one of those that we're going to discuss, that we've selected for discussion today, is The Matrix. Scarlet, I suppose we could discuss the premise of The Matrix before we go into its analysis.
Yes.
So what The Matrix is a world that's obviously, it's been around for a good 20 years now, but it still resonates. People refer to it because obviously The Matrix are two levels. Obviously it's Neo, who is who wants to know more and is given the opportunity to explore more about the nature of reality within that world. And the reality is far different from the world he's within. Obviously he works in a company, he works in a society, but obviously upon further realizations he realizes that all is not as it seems. His reality is different from the reality of a computer-controlled reality, and he gets the opportunity to have all his assumptions of his mind free from his existence, and he enters into a different reality, a reality which is so different from the one he's existed within, and that goes from there, and within that he finds his purpose, he finds his mission. But again, you probably have probably seen it, you probably know the premise of it, the premises behind it, but we don't reveal too much just in case you haven't seen it, but I do implore you to recommend it. We also have a rating system. The rating systems are different, and depending upon how relevant the actual film is to Mindflight. And we have a rating system of 0 or ground level to 15,000 feet. Then we have 25,000 feet, and we have 35,000 feet, which we do recommend, which is the highest rating. And then we have something that is into the stratosphere above that, which are films that have stood the test of time, or things that we recommend that go beyond the beyond. So that's the premise. So Scarlet, your take on The Matrix relevant to Mindflight?
Okay, The Matrix is one of my favourite films. I think in relation to Mindflight, it's very close to the journey of Mindflight. The journey that Neo takes is essentially the Mindflight journey. It's making the choice of elevating your mind, understanding more, seeing more, being able to have a greater perspective on the world. But going on that journey isn't an easy journey. It's probably one of the most difficult journeys that you will ever take in your life, because it's the internal journey of understanding who you are. And Neo does this. He comes to a greater understanding of who he actually is. And in that, you begin to understand the world around you and others. And I guess from a Mindflight perspective, we believe that's one of the greatest journeys you can take in this life. So The Matrix, I think, was a genius film, way ahead of its time. I think it's very relevant now because of everything that's going on in the world. I think it's something that will actually help people, because it will show them that once you elevate, you have greater power, you have greater strength, you have greater understanding, which leads to greater wisdom, which is the journey that we're all searching for. And then at the end of the Matrix, one of the most, there's love. So those are all the elements that I believe are important to life and that reflect mind flight, but are the core of the Matrix.
And essentially, you've got the layer from which Neo discovers the new reality. And obviously, with certain films, I think perhaps we could have, I don't know, we'll give a marking as to if we're going to have spoilers in the film to go into more depth in the film, but naturally we're just mindful of, if you haven't seen the film, we're just talking into that premise, so that style, so obviously we don't spoil it, but you've got the nature of reality being revealed, obviously, and then as Scarlet says, you have the concept of the love or unconditional love, and the love is the driving force which actually enables or assists a big part of the story's development for Neo to realize his true purpose. And love is the foundation for everything, obviously. The love for the thing, love for the self, love for what you're doing, love for everything, and love for any love, and also the core love of the interaction, the unconditional love.
And I know we're not revealing anything from the film, but I think there's a great part in this film, which we won't give too much away by saying this, but there's a part where the group that kind of go on the journey, that follow Neo, and one of the characters actually wants to dip back into the other world. He gets tempted by all of the things in the other world, and I think that's a really interesting part of the film, because it's something as human beings, when we're going on a journey of the self, there's always a moment where you doubt what you're doing. You doubt if there is anything in finding out who you are, and you're tempted because it's the easy route. And I think that's a really interesting concept in the film that they've put in there, that I think if ever you go on a journey to find out who you are and that journey within, you know, you will have a moment where you actually say, actually, do you know what? This is hard. That's the easy way. But what I would say, yes, it is the easy way in that moment because you're on the struggle. But long term, oh my gosh, no, that is the hard way. The easy way is to keep going, and then you will have that profound enlightenment of greater understanding of yourself and the world around you.
And actually, as Scarlet says, you have a profound understanding. What's pivotal is that when you plug yourself into the Matrix, there is the detail, the resolution of things, of time, of purpose, of life, of the driven focus of the drive to create, or the driven focus of the drive to achieve an objective, is very much like plugging yourself into the Matrix, wanting to go back into the Matrix. It's like sitting on a train. You're looking out of the window and you're seeing the scenery pass by. You're sitting on that train and you're just going to station after station, looking directly out. You don't have time, can't see outside the window because the scenery is passing you so fast. The difference is that stop at the station, get out of the station, walk out into the station and behold the scenery and take the scenery in, because each instance, each bit of scenery, each thing that you're seeing but for an instant will be there for you if you actually get off the train and get off the station, if you actually understand the relationship between what the Matrix is and what's to be revealed when the Matrix falls away and you see the reality of realities. And that's part what Matrix is about. But we definitely implore you to see The Matrix. It's again one of the greatest films. It specifically relates to the idea of mind flight as well. There is a parallel there, and we definitely highly recommend it. Do you have any conclusions in respect of The Matrix, Scarlet?
Yeah, I think The Matrix is about the struggle. It's about the struggle of the journey. but knowing that that struggle's worth it, and in the end you will get the greatest rewards. And I think that's really a great message in it, that he actually overcomes the impossible, and we can overcome the impossible, and so much of it is about belief but also about understanding. So yeah, I'd want to rate this film.
Yeah, so we have the rating. We have obviously 0, 15, 25, 35 and over 60 to 85. That's out there. So we have 85 obviously is the final one. So Scarlet, on the Mindflight scale rating, what would you rate this film as? What altitude would you rate this, The Matrix?
It's 85. It's above and
85,000.
beyond.
Okay.
Brilliant film.
85,000 feet. That's the edge of space. And that's what Mindflight's assigning The Matrix. So if you have nothing to do that's important in this instance, if you haven't seen it before, I implore you to go and get the film and sit down comfortably with sitting in front of the screen and just enamor yourself with the wonderful story that is The Matrix. Obviously, if you have seen it, perhaps when you listen to this, look at it in the view of what we've said and then rewatch The Matrix. But
yeah, and I think that's a great thing that Captain Dennis has said, is rewatch it. Because what I find with movies is you can watch something when you're 15 and it has one impact. You can watch something when you're 20, it has another. Watch something when you're 30. It's all based on your state of mind at the time. And it's like reading books as well, which we will be reviewing books on here as well.
yes.
So yeah, if you haven't watched it, watch it again. If you have watched it, watch it again. If you haven't, then it should be one of your number one films to watch.
Yes, so in review, please go. Obviously, that concludes our relationship of what Mindflight is to The Matrix, but generally as a film, The Matrix is excellent. As a film itself, the CGI, the effects, the acting, the environment, obviously played by Keanu Reeves.
Yes, and that's a bonus.
And also and Lawrence Fishburne and various other but primary actors, but the Keanu Reeves is as Neo is excellent. So as a film for depth, it's excellent. As a film to enjoy, it's excellent. So with a final rating of 85,000 feet, we implore you, we've signed up to Matrix, we implore you to go and watch it. So from Scarlet and myself, Dennis, we thank you for joining us on this film review. And again, we're much obliged and appreciative that you would join us on this journey of empowering, of elevating, and the Mindflight itself. So, on behalf of myself, Dennis, and Scarlet, we wish you a safe and comfortable onward journey. We'll see you again next time.